This week on Full Circle Florida Law and Order and Your Right to Speak, the protests erupting on college campuses across America and here in the Sunshine State. Where is the line between hate speech and free speech? We debate, we discuss. The ban on abortion, 6 weeks, now the law in Florida for now. Will voters overturn it come November? And the messaging war that's about to get very loud. And this week, current state attorney Susie Lopez in the studio, her response to what Andrew Warren said last week during my interview and how she thinks Florida's 6-week abortion ban will really be enforced. It may surprise you. The state we all call home changed this week. Now, I'm not about to tell you if it was for the better or for the worse. You'll decide that for yourself in November. But what is clear, no matter how long the 6-week abortion ban had been waiting in the wings, it set into motion a political fight in an election year that now puts Florida in the crosshairs of the loudest culture war of all. This week, Forrest Saunder's on the trail of the opening salvo.
Not even a full day into Florida's new 6-week abortion ban, and Vice President Kamala Harris in town to condemn it.
As of this morning, 4 million women in this state woke up with fewer reproductive freedoms than they had last night. This is the new reality under a Trump abortion ban.
A Democrat laying it all on former President Donald Trump, hitting him Wednesday for morphing the Supreme Court, which later turned the issue over to the states. Harris also denounced Trump's comments in this Time magazine article. The Republican said he'd let red states monitor women's pregnancies and prosecute those who violate abortion bans.
Whereas Joe Biden and I have a different view. We believe the government should never come between a woman and her doctor.
Florida's new restrictions, coupled with a chance to undo them this November through a near 24-week abortion referendum, has the Biden-Harris campaign leaning in on the issue here. They and Florida Democrats think it has the state, quote, in play. That's despite Trump winning Florida in the past 2 cycles.
These are issues that are front and center to Floridians. And when we build this coalition, and of course now that abortion's on the ballot, we do believe that Florida's in play.
Political experts think it's a smart strategy and may engage young and female voters, boosting turnout, though it's far from a sure thing. Anti-abortion groups, meanwhile, criticizing the VP for trying to unwind the 6-week ban and predicting her backing of Florida's abortion ballot initiative will hurt more than help.
Because if you look at the actual language, at least in Florida, this amendment, it's extreme and voters are going to say no on 4.
But while we wait for voters to make up their minds,
you guys can start sharing right now.
Florida's 6-week ban, among the most restrictive in the country, stands, not only hampering access in the Sunshine State, but closing a door to later-term care in the southeast U.S. as well.
All right, let's bring in our political analyst, Dr. Susan MacManus. Okay, Donald Trump's abortion comments this week in Time magazine. He was asked, do you think states should monitor women's pregnancies so they could know if they've gotten an abortion after the ban? Trump's response, I think they might do that. You'll have to speak with the individual states. Monitoring women's pregnancies. I never thought I'd hear a Republican say that. Does Trump know where he is on this issue? And how much of a liability politically could this be for Republicans?
Well, first of all, Democrats are already turning that statement into a television ad against Trump. Secondly, though, there's a little bit of a danger in thinking that this is a, one-size-fits-all issue. And what we know is that right now, in terms of abortion, there are 14 states that ban it altogether. There are 25 states that have no restrictions, and another 11, including Florida, that have some different period. So this makes it difficult to say one size fits all. But the real bottom line is all of this stems from the fact that this comes from the beginning of the country when, to get states to ratify the Constitution, states from all different backgrounds, they had to come to a compromise and agree to give certain responsibility to the states. So once the U.S. Supreme Court gave abortion responsibilities back to the states, it's no surprise that you're going to see a lot of differences of opinion. So as a candidate, he's a little hesitant. But secondly, and very important, in almost every state, good records are kept about abortion.
Yeah, this is going to be legislated 50 different ways. But, Trump was asked how he would vote on the Amendment 4, abortion amendment in Florida, because he's a resident of Florida. He refused to say. And I'm just wondering if his response and this ambiguity is reflective of something larger when it comes to the politics of abortion, this duality on this specific topic. And this idea, and I know Democrats are counting on people, being turned out to the polls and voting yes on Amendment 4, and then somehow that translating into votes for Democrats. But is that necessarily the case, that just because you might be pro-choice, you're going to vote D down the line? There are conservatives who are pro-choice. There are liberals who are pro-life. Is this as monolithic of an issue as the Democrats would like it to be?
No, it's not. But Democrats are very, very cognizant of the fact that it's the young voters who already are saying they're no party. But can they get the young voters to turn out on that issue? That's their premise, that they can. The question then is, will they also then vote on the top of the ticket race? Normally, it's the presidential race that draws turnout. In Florida, it looks like for the younger generation, which is critical to Democrats, it's more the issues in the amendments.
Meanwhile, I got about 20 seconds left. Some encouraging news for us middle of the roaders this week. The Hill did an article saying that maybe the fringe on the left and the right is being rebelled against. You saw the House Speaker, Leader Hakeem Jeffries, say that he would save the job of Republican Speaker Mike Johnson if Marjorie Taylor Greene pulls a stunt next week. And of course, the Democrats speaking out against these protests on college campuses. Should we have hope?
We have hope, but let's face it, there's a generational split. In Congress, the so-called troublemakers are all younger generation on both sides of the aisle.
Well, there's good trouble, there's bad trouble. Susan MacManus, you're good trouble as always, and no trouble at all. Thanks for being here, appreciate it. Next on Full Circle Florida, the students are speaking, but is the president listening?